Before we get started, I just wanted to say that I'm not delusional enough to think that it's all sunshine and rainbows in Vancouver right now, because it very clearly isn't. This team has a lot of big holes, and I admit that. But with all the doom and gloom in Canucks Nation, I figured somebody had to point out the silver linings for optimists to look at, and I do believe there are some positive things going for them next year to take into consideration. To start off with, I want to talk about injuries. As we all know, in the 2025 season, the Canucks had horrendous injury luck, with injuries to Pettersson, Miller, Besser, Hughes, Hronek, and Demko. They had every single one of their core players missing time last season, and that's not even counting a bunch of other still important players for the Canucks missing time. And even with all of that on top of all the locker room drama, they still came reasonably close to making the playoffs. With 14 losses that came either in overtime or the shootout, if they were even an average team for overtime and shootout results, then they would have been in a playoff spot for sure. And this year, it is highly unlikely that they are going to have the same amount of extreme bad luck. Yes, there will be some injuries, and of course they are equally unlikely to repeat the level of good luck that they had on the injury front in 2024. But they don't need to be perfect in this regard to see improvement. And next up, I want to talk about the defense. Right now, the defense going into next year is probably the biggest positive that this team has going for them in terms of their roster. But as many seem to forget, to start last season, the team's defense struggled after losing both Ian Cole and Nikita Zadorov, as well as Carson Soucy's play dropping off the face of the earth for some reason after he had been a really solid defender the year before. The team's defense was off until they traded for Marcus Pettersson and called up DPD, and then it really stabilized. So, to start the year next year, the team should have a much better time keeping pucks out of their own net than they did to start last year. And I also want to talk about the pressure on this team from the fans and media. Coming off of the 2024 season, having won the Pacific Division and nearly the President's Trophy, as well as winning a round in the playoffs, this team had a tremendous amount of pressure and expectations on them in a way that this current group of Canucks has never had before, being a team that just missed the playoffs every year, not counting the COVID bubble year. But this year, there is not going to be a ton of pressure and expectations on them. In fact, most people are not going to be expecting anything out of them. So, I feel like they will be able to play better while not having the weight of the world on their shoulders. Remember how the Gaudreau and Tkachuk era Flames used to always alternate between make the playoffs one year and miss the playoffs the next year without any consistency either way? I feel like pressure was a big part of why that happened. In the years after missing the playoffs, they had no expectations and no pressure and were able to perform better as a result. And I feel like something similar might happen with this group of Canucks mentally. Also, the locker room drama should be gone. We all know about the drama between JT Miller and Elias Pettersson last year. And I won't go into the details of it here since we all heard it talked about to death already. But I will point out that Miller is no longer going to be on the team, which will cause a lot less distraction in the locker room. Which brings me to Elias Pettersson, who had a super down year last year and has looked off ever since he signed that massive contract extension a couple of years ago. I believe he will see significant improvements this year. There are reports that he has been training very well this offseason, which the team is impressed by, which seems like it was a concern last offseason. He should be healthier, not having played through an injury or having to spend the offseason recovering from one. He's not going to have the drama of having Miller around anymore, and he's going to be on a team with a lot less pressure and expectations than the previous year. I'm not saying he's going to jump back to being a 100-plus point Selke caliber player, but I think with all those factors taken into account, he will look much better than he did last year. And real quick, I also just wanted to say that Thatcher Demko will not be just coming off an injury that he spent a lot of time recovering from. He should be fresh and have a solid defense in front of him, so I think that we will also see a better version of Thatcher Demko. I'm not ready to make any specific predictions about this team yet until we see the moves that they make at the draft and in free agency, but I don't buy that the situation with the team is completely hopeless by any means. Anyway, that's all for this video. Take care, folks.